You're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network. Visit bpn.fm to discover more.
Hello, I'm Jesse McAnally.
And I'm Alan Seals.
And I'm Liz Eston.
And welcome to Carrey'd Away, a podcast where we explore the films and television shows starring the one and only Canadian James Eugene Carrey. All right, and we have an extra special guest on this holiday episode. We are breaking tradition because we did not want to cover The Grinch and A Christmas Carol in the middle of July of next year.
You're the
Grinch! Jim Carrey is the Grinch.
How the Grinch Stole Christmas is a film that was released on November 17th in the United States, written by Jeffrey Price and Peter Seaman, starring Jim Carrey.
November 17th, 2000.
Yes, November 17th, 2000. Starring Jim Carrey, Taylor Momsen, Jeffrey Tambor, Christine Baranski, Bill Irwin, and Molly Shannon, directed by Ron Howard. The plot of which is on the outskirts of Whoville lives a green, revenge-seeking Grinch who plans to ruin Christmas for all the citizens of the town. Please join me in welcoming Michigan's own beaming Broadway star and former resident of Whoville on stage in two different shows. It's Andrew Keenan-Bolger!
Hey, what's up, gang?
How you doing, Andrew?
I'm so good. I'm ready for, let's get in this holiday season.
Yes.
Packed up those Halloween decorations, and let's bring out the string lights.
I'm very excited to have you on. But first and foremost, what is your history with Jim Carrey, if you have one? If this is the first Jim Carrey movie you've ever seen, that's fine too.
No, I think the first movie I saw was like Ace Ventura, or maybe The Mask. I'm a child of the 90s, so he loomed large in, I think, my friends' circles. Like, that was as good as it got in terms of comedy in the 90s. So, yeah, I think one of those two, early introduction.
Now, later in life, you would go on to be at JoJo and Seussical, and as well, Young Max and How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the stage show. Did you find any influence from Jim Carrey's interpretation of this film or anything into either of those productions?
Honestly, I don't think so. I know, well, the Grinch movie came out while I was in Seussical. So it was that same year.
Ooh.
And I remember they did a special screening for our cast, before everyone else got to see it.
Okay, fuck everything else we have to say. Tell us all about that screening.
Oh my gosh. It was in the, Times Square AMC. It was literally just our cast. It was, 30 people in, a giant movie theater.
Wow.
And, they just showed it to us. Just, I think, as a Seuss Brothers kind of IP projects,
Now, you
look
were
at this.
Seuss brothers from another mother.
fairly young at the time, so you had to have been the target audience of this film. What was your reaction of it at the time?
I remember honestly being a little critical of it. I think because I was so immersed in Dr. Seuss and in preparation for Seussical, because I was 15 at the time, so I was a little bit older than my character probably should have been.
At 15, you knew everything.
I truly,
Yes.
really thought I did, and was just developing a sense of taste.
But I assume
and
that
I
Jim
remember
Carrey
not
of it all would be not pandering, but pointing towards the teen crowd that's hey, come on in, this is cool.
1,000,000%. And I think I remember thinking Jim Carrey was amazing, as I still do today, having rewatched it. We were that is an incredible performance. But I remember not loving the movie, and I remember being backstage. I think probably this is actually more accurate, with a group of catty gay men all dunking on it. So I think that might have also influenced some of my reactions to it. But it is not a movie that I have ever seen again until yesterday. From that time that I saw it in the theater when I was 15.
I feel when it came out, it was inescapable, almost ignoring the entire conceit of the movie of, capitalism isn't great, where the marketing is buy all these toys at Toys R Us and don't forget to go to Wendy's and get your Grinch toys. It was marketed to Blitz. Like in New York, I have to imagine it was everywhere, like on every doorstep.
He's coming. If there's something you want, better start running. Get on a train, hop on a bus. It's holiday jubilation at Toys R Us. For Universal and Imagine Pictures release of The Grinch. It's a game, it's a cinch. 3 lucky Who's will win Dodge Caravans. Imagine the shouts, imagine the hollers when another Who wins $1 million.
Oh, 1,000,000%. Yeah, and I think my generation, and certainly the generation like just below me, this is their Christmas movie. This is their White Christmas. Their It's a Wonderful Life. Like, it is The Grinch.
I guess, like, all right, since we're going into that, and that was such a great intro into it, and also a little bit like, wow, you were there when it happened. You saw it before all of us, and you were in the world of Seuss while you had to go and see the world of Seuss. That being said, how much influence, because in my opinion every adaptation of The Grinch afterwards has taken a lot of influence from this movie and a lot of characteristics from it, and then when you're in The Grinch on stage in the national tour, if I'm correctly, did you feel a lot of that influence from like, oh, we're just doing some Jim Carrey stuff, all right?
It's funny, I really this is not a compelling answer. I would say literally none. When I got cast in The Grinch, I never had the desire to go and rewatch it. Maybe also because I was playing Max the dog, and I'm like, what am I gonna glean from this live animal that doesn't talk? But no,
Max is
I
one
felt...
of my favorite characters.
He's a great character. It wasn't honestly until I rewatched it yesterday that I was like, oh, I think the guy who played the Grinch when I did it probably took some of these bits from that. And like, of course he did. Why wouldn't you? I grew up on the Chuck Jones version, the like animated. Yeah. I think it's only like 20 or 30 minutes, but that is like definitely the one minutes. That was the one that I still to this day think of when anyone says The Grinch.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. Like the animated version with little Cindy Lou Who real life actress is 30 years old now.
Oh my gosh.
Taylor Momsen.
She's
Momsen,
She's a punk rock singer who famously exposes her body a lot. That is part of her performance. So a lot of people are like, oh, my childhood. People get older. How dare they?
She's also been a bitch on Gossip Girl, so like she's changed.
For sure. I just met earlier this year. I met the actress who plays the young Christine Baranski in it, the like Martha May Whovier, and she's now grown up and an actress as well. And I met her at a party, and somehow people were talking about being a child actor, and they're like, Andrew is a child actor in like Dr. Seuss stuff too. And she shared the anecdote that at least once a week, a like college-educated older man will slide into her DMs and say creepy stuff about her performance as like a 10-year-old in that. She's like, not a week has gone by where someone has not like over-sexualized that character. And now with me as a 30-year-old, feels the need to share it with me as though I am going to like join in on this creepy fantasy.
Ooh. No. No.
Though, that being said, the movie does that no favors. It does.
It's a little flirty.
It's a little more than you would want from a 10-year-old representation of a lot of things. Like they basically have like the seductive saxophone playing in the background. It's really unpleasant.
As a Ron Howard film, there's a couple things in here that I was like, really, Ron Howard?
I have a lot of things to say about this, and I am excited to say about it. So this film was a huge hyperfixation for me in my early days. So literally, I did not rewatch this. I know this film beginning to end without having to revisit it at all. And truly, it was a horrendous experience for everyone involved, by all accounts. And there was a lot of push and pull between people who didn't know what they were trying to make it. A lot of folks, more like on the Brian Grazer side, were like, edgy comedy, let's try to embrace that side of it, make it a little bit raunchier. Where on the Jim Carrey kind of Ron Howard side, it was like, let's bring in the Amblin, let's make it a little sweeter. And then they met in the middle, and I think most of the negative response was, it doesn't know what it is, and I can't help but agree with that. However, film techniques and the things that it like really shines now, especially like now that we've removed ourselves from like the practical sets and the makeup appliances and having physical actors that do physical things on screen and torturing our actors by putting them under mountains and mountains of yak hair and fake noses and contacts. It is an impressive feat, and there is some cinematography choices that I found interesting in concept but baffling in execution. So what do we know anything about Ron Howard as a director? Like when
he's covered in yak hair.
It's
apparently.
yak hair, yeah. It's dyed yak hair.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no. So the suit was actually yak hair?
Yes.
Yeah. Fully yak hair.
Entirely yak hair. And
that sounds yucky.
It's 90 days Jim Carrey had to be on set. So 90 days, getting there at 3 a.m. before everyone else, getting poked and prodded at for 3 to 4 hours every morning, and then having to go and perform uncomfortably under contacts and all these things. He was very, very unhappy with having to do this and made it in his prima donna way, because this is a few years removed from The Cable Guy, where he was getting $20 million for one role. He is on top of the world. He thinks that he should not be having to deal with this. And then the producers paid for, like, you know, torture, like people to train him to deal with torture and things like that, which in my opinion is a little too much. But then they basically recommended, like, you meditate, take up smoking, but he has to smoke out of a Carrel DeVille style cigarette holder, or else he will ignite the yak hair he's covered in. And eventually Ron Howard is like, okay, fuck it, you're bitching so much, I'm gonna wear the suit for a whole day and just see how bad it was. And he's like, it wasn't great, but it's fine. And he directed at least one day entirely dressed up as the Grinch.
No kidding. Good on you, Ron.
That's wild.
That is like the epitome of decent director trying to be like, all right, I get that you're going through pain, I get that this is difficult, but it's every actor in this film has to undergo a lot of makeup just for an everyday. It's done by Rick Baker, who is very, very famous, one of the best to do it. Got his start in the Star Wars world, became acclaimed through American Werewolf in London and The Howling, back-to-back werewolf transformations, two of the best, and would go on to win an Oscar for all the makeup effects that he would do for this film, and well-deserved, one of the few well-deserved things.
Yeah, they look amazing.
And to the test of time, like, looked better today than they did back then, in all honesty. Like, the clarity of HD and 4K restorations of this film has only done it favors in a way that a lot of other VFX heavy films have not. I maybe others will agree. Aside from, like, the sledding down the hill piece in the latter half of the film, all the CGI and visual effects pieces kind of hold up very well.
Yeah, there are some close-ups on Jim where like you can tell it's sort of like the spongy material on his face, but it still looks good. If you know what you're looking for, you can see it, but it looks amazing. I think it absolutely held up.
This has been a long time coming. Basically, of movie studios just waiting for Dr. Seuss to die. That sounds horrendous, but that is the truth. Because Liz, you can explain it better.
Oh, do you want me to explain? Okay.
Yes, please.
So, yeah, they were basically just fighting for the right to the Grinch and any Dr. Seuss thing. They're just waiting for this old guy to kick it. Like, we can only adapt this once he dies, and he has a widow we can get permission from. So.
And she is, I wouldn't say litigious with it. She is very much like, yeah, whatever.
She got more litigious post-2004, but that was for a good reason. So, very good reason. So yeah, basically she had very specific stipulations, and she said any actor submitted for the Grinch must be comparable to the stature of Jack Nicholson, Jim Carrey, Robin Williams, and Dustin Hoffman.
She had a lot of power, and she got her way.
She did. She won. She got a bunch of money from it. So.
And this is one of the highest grossing films of all time when it came out, and it's still quite up there. I mean, even compared to like the Marvel stuff today. While the VFX and the visuals have aged well, I don't know if the narrative has. So, Andrew, I'm very curious. You coming back into this nearly 2 decades later, how does it compare? What was your experience rewatching this?
Well, it's funny. I was watching it in my dressing room in between shows yesterday. I'm in Dracula, A Comedy of Terrors right now off Broadway. And James Daly, who plays our Dracula, was like, oh my God, are you watching The Grinch? I'm like, yeah, it's for this podcast. And I had my AirPods in, and he started reciting in the background every single line, like in Jim Carrey's voice, like to the exact dialogue, same intention. He's like, this is like maybe one of my absolute favorite movies and like a huge influence for me when it comes to comedy. So I was seeing it through his lens, which was super sunny. And then my other castmate, Arnie Burton, came in and he was like, ugh, are you watching The Grinch, the worst Christmas movie ever made?
That's a good Arnie.
It basically,
That's a really good Arnie.
It started a huge fight, a loving fight between James and Arnie. So I was sitting very agnostic, right in between, like trying to take like the most absolute superlatives and like the most iconoclast, like burying this film. And I think I felt somewhere in between. I was really impressed with. Like you were saying before, the like special effects and how much like practical stuff they used. I think especially in comedy, so rarely when you are like CGIing something to death is stuff funny. And I think it's because like that little girl is looking up at Jim Carrey. He looks exactly like how he looks to the audience. So her reactions are real. The comedic like moments are all real versus if she was staring up at a guy in like a flesh-colored suit with a bunch of X's all over him, you're gonna have a different reaction as an actor. And so I think especially with comedy, like all of the practical stuff makes such a huge difference. And I was so glad to see how much it stacked up. In terms of the narrative, I guess I just didn't remember how much they had changed it. And I think it doesn't make sense to me. I think they missed the point of the entire book, which is they make the Who's these kind of grotesque, capitalist, like super consumery type creatures.
Merry Christmas! Thank you for shopping Carmichael's. Thank you.
We've got a snoozlephone for your brother Drew, and a snoozophone for your brother Stu, a munkle for your uncle, a fan for your aunt, and a fanpa for your cousin Leon. So we just need... Cindy?
And in the book, they are these like lovely, cheerful, kind of pure creatures. And the thought in the movie is like, and then he steals away all their stuff and they get so upset. Whereas in the book, they steal all their stuff and the Who's don't care at all. They're like, it's not about any of that. What we are about is love. And I was like, oh wait, that movie, I think it did the opposite, where it's like, yeah, how terrible. And I get that they're like, oh, but it's about like rehabilitation and everything, but we as a society are much more like the Who's in the Jim Carrey version than in the Dr. Seuss version. But I don't know. I feel like it's sort of, I was confused by that choice and why they decided to do that. It feels like, of course you would want to do that though, because you're like, let's make the Who's reflect more who we are.
You know, I gotta say, I think, and don't shoot me here. This was my first time seeing this movie.
Oh.
So, with that said, I came into this with again the animated version, the short version of like, and the book, right? And coming into this, I was like, oh, they gave him a backstory and a little bit of a love interest, and I guess this is a little bit to your point, Jess, of to like it doesn't know what it wants to be, but I sort of enjoyed that because it was sort of a different universe of the same story that we know about. So I really enjoyed that they humanized the Who's and the Grinch a little bit, and I found them relatable because they were real. Mm-hmm. And so I will pleasantly disagree that I think the changes did work at least for me.
I think the changes make sense for the kind of, because here, I think this is a smart decision. I don't love the way that they got there, but I think the idea of having Cindy Lou and the Grinch juxtaposed by having the same frustration and relating on that, which is like, this shit's a little overblown, right? And they both have that, and they react to it in two very different ways, which Cindy Lou is working within the system. She's like, I want to find meaning, and I think the meaning might be found through me connecting with other people and bringing people together. How can we preach this if we're ostracizing someone out? Maybe if I do that, I will understand the meaning. And he's like, fuck these people. They are the problem, and it's their fault that I don't understand it. And then they compromise, and they relate through that. And I think as an overarching theme for a narrative film, that is at least a pretty good bone structure to build this off of. in reflecting these two characters. And I know the 2018 movie also tried something like this, but I think it works in a very less effective way there. And I think that's the pathos that this brings, is that core relationship, which is the only thing that is completely novel to this film that I feel like works. Everything else that they take from the Dr. Seuss book really works in this film, in my opinion. Everything they take from the Chuck Jones thing also works in this film. That relationship is non-existent in the book or the Chuck Jones story. It really is the core center of this, and it's mostly because the actors have great chemistry together.
Yeah.
Totes.
No, it looked like a lot of fun on set. I think Molly Shannon was a bit underused, and like Dustin Hoffman is the narrator.
Not Dustin Hoffman.
Anthony Hopkins.
Or Anthony Hopkins. Whatever.
Hannibal
Same
Lecter.
Yeah. Same but different. Wait, this is my Jenny McCarthy.
This is your Jenny McCarthy.
Heather Locklear mix
Heather
up.
Locklear episode. Yeah.
You say that it was fun on set. Not particularly.
It looked like it.
Not at all.
Oh no.
Tell me more. Tell me more.
This is like one of the few, because NDA crazy, but this is one of the few stories that get out about how Jim Carrey was at the top of his game, a little bit of a diva, not doing his best. Kazuhiro Tsuji, he is a renowned special effects makeup artist, and he started his career on The Grinch. So he is basically like B makeup artist to Rick Baker, and has the unenviable job of getting Jim Carrey dressed and ready every morning and getting him into the makeup. He said that it was truly an experience he will never forget. He relived the nightmare that was The Grinch in a recent interview with Vulture via the playlist, and it turns out he checked into therapy soon after working with Jim Carrey. On set, Jim Carrey was really mean to everybody at the beginning of the production. They couldn't finish. After 2 weeks, we could only finish 3 days worth of shooting schedule because suddenly he would just disappear, and then he would come back. Everything was ripped apart, and we couldn't shoot everything, so he'd just rip apart these makeup appliances. In the makeup trailer, he just suddenly stands up, looks in the mirror, and pointing at his chin, he goes, "This color is different than the one you did yesterday. I was using the same color you used yesterday." He said, "Fix it," and, I fixed it. Every day was like that. He became so exhausted with Carrey that the makeup artist, Rick Baker, and one of the film's producers allowed him to step away from the project for a hiatus to not deal with Jim Carrey. The goal was to make Carrey realize how important the makeup artist was to the creation of the character, and the plan worked, and he received a call from Carrey 2 weeks after his break asking him to please return to the film, and Ron Howard also called, swearing Jim Carrey had changed his way and was acting more positive behind the scenes, and Grinch changed himself. "I went back under one condition," he said. "I was talking with my friends, and they all told me you should ask for a raise before you go back. I didn't want to do that. Kind of nasty. Then I got to the idea, how can I..." And he got a green card. That was the deal. So now... It was all a positive, but also Jim Carrey, while under very unpleasant conditions, was not behaving very well in this film, and he was letting a lot of that fame and nonsense go to him. And this is fresh off of his Man on the Moon stint, which they made an entire documentary about his behavior on that set.
Right, yeah.
So I as much as I enjoy this, obviously there was a lot of things going on behind the scenes, and that's not even unpacking like the Jeffrey Tambor of it all, who would later come out to be a very difficult person to work with on any set. As far as
Jeffrey Tambor's hard to work with?
Is that sarcasm?
No, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, he got canned in the last season of Transparent because of
how
he was treating specifically like his trans co-workers.
Not great. He's not a particularly good person by all accounts.
Which is a shame because he's so wonderful and
I know. I just love him from Arrested Development.
Yeah, me too.
Right.
He used to treat Jessica Walter like garbage on that set specifically.
The hell?
Yeah, you're dead to me if you treat her bad.
Preach.
That's right. That's right.
So there's a lot of egos going at play on this film that is supposed to be like a family like tradition. Specifically, they cite like inspiration from like A Wonderful Life, and Jim Carrey said his performance was based a lot on Jimmy Stewart. I'm curious, does anyone else see that influence? Because I do not, aside from like that one speech he gives at the end where he's like, "Oh, it's all about gifts," and I'm like, "Oh, I see it. You're going a little Jimmy Stewart there."
I mean, it kind of does, does the thing with his teeth, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Max, let's go. Our work here is finished. That is not a Chew toy!
That's as much as it comes into play.
Well, that is
and then you gotta
due
tuggle
to
about-
the denture appliance he has. Like even in like interviews and like bloopers, you can hear him do this. So like, oh, sorry, let me try. Sorry, let me try that again.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. You gotta get angry about it.
Yes. Speaking of getting angry, the critics did not love this movie. Well, let's take a look, because we have both Entertainment Weekly and Variety reviews, both from the time the film came out. The first one is by Owen Gleiberman, and he says, Carrey, thrusting his lower lip to the pout of magnificently mocking self-pity, speaks in a basso, rapid-fire, vaguely British growl that makes him sound like a deranged James Stewart fused with Lionel Barrymore. Okay, they see Jimmy Stewart too. I'm not seeing it.
There, yeah. I'm not seeing it either. I don't agree with that.
I don't see it.
I see Lionel Barrymore more.
I see the growled lip.
He plays the Grinch as an overgrown kid who never got his candy and is now going to make the world pay for it. The Grinch sits around his mad scientist lair, munching on glass, his beetle brows locked into a sneer as he tries to dream up ways of ruining everyone else's pleasure. Madness fills him with dirty high spirits, but he's so suspicious of anything that feels good that he compulsively sabotages even his own malevolent glee. I mean, that's mostly just an insult of Carrey. Once again, not seeing the James Stewart. I see the Lionel Barrymore, like, slightly, but not much.
Wait. There's a plot hole we haven't talked about. So the backstory.
There's a plot hole?
Yeah, the backstory here is that when he's about 8 years old, right, 8 or 9 years old, it was Christmas, and like some other kid made fun of him for having facial hair because he was 8, and he tried to shave it, and the whole thing, he just had like little razor cuts, and then he got so bullied from that he went to a mountain, and nobody ever heard from him again. Why did nobody go after the 8-year-old boy when he ran away to live in an ice cave?
Yeah, including his like legal guardians.
Right?
His lesbian mothers, yes.
His lesbian moms, yeah.
His lesbian moms who just let him
swingers
go.
parties.
Yeah, what was that?
Throwing the keys in the
Yeah.
thing.
The keys in there.
We should
And
do
a
an
swingers
adult-
party.
Sneak that one in.
That was moment number 1, Ron Howard.
Well, no, that was
my
actually
God.
moment number 2, because 30 seconds before that, they get a baby delivered to their doorstep, and the dad's like, hey, our baby's here. Why does he
Looks
look
like
like
our
your boss?
Oh my God.
That's right.
This movie's weirdly horny.
It is obscenely
And there was
horny.
when he was trying to catch a taxi, and he was like, he couldn't catch a taxi. He's like, is you catch it because I'm green?
Yep.
Yep.
Like, that one's not too bad. That one, like, in any other kid's movie, that'd be fine. The other ones, maybe not so much.
Yeah, no.
Or when he puts the mistletoe over his butt and tells him to kiss it, like...
Or when he puts the dog's butt in the mayor's mouth while he's sleeping.
That was
And then the
comedy
dog
gold.
crawls away with his butt on the carpet like it really hurt or something.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I like
felt
that.
violated.
That's comedy.
I did like that one. That was my favorite. That was my favorite inappropriate moment.
I hated that. I hate that.
I hate it.
scene.
I hate
That
it. I
scene
hate
makes
it.
me uncomfortable.
Andrew, I think you and I are on one camp, and they're on the other camp.
Oh yeah, so you guys are pro like
you're-
dog.
I
mutil-
mean, it's funny.
I'm still pro this movie. We're gonna go with that. All right.
Okay.
Convince me otherwise.
Well,
Change my
let's hear
mind.
what Todd McCarthy says.
Okay, Todd.
For decades, the late Theodore Geisel showed the door to all filmmakers who approached him about making live-action versions of his popular 1957 story, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. It's too bad his wishes did not continue to be honored, as this lavishly appointed production reps a sweet and simple tale gone enormously sour. Shrill, strenuous, and entirely without charm, Ron Howard's attempt at a Christmas classic is an elaborately wrapped, empty box that will fool many people into buying it, but will not greatly please its recipients. Too scary for tykes, the film lacks the magic and fun that older kids want, and many middle American grown-ups who dutifully drag their sprigs along will end up resenting the film's unpleasantly negative vibes and its failure to provide a good family time. That felt like a Roger Ebert quote with the use of the word tykes. He does kind of love...
Total.
I don't agree with that. I think kids love this film.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm a little bit younger. Liz and I are a little younger. I was about 4 or 5 when this film came out. And once that kind of hit, it became impossible to escape from the kids. Every kid was quoting this. It was like watching Eddie Murphy's Raw for the first time, where every kid suddenly became a stand-up just because the film existed. There is that famous speech where he's like, 4 o'clock wallow in self-pity, 5 o'clock
that.
stare into the abyss, 5 o'clock self-world hunger's held no one, 6 o'clock dinner with me, I can't cancel that again. Like, that line has survived its own.
But what will I wear?
Exactly.
Yeah. I feel like I remember that.
Because like Ace Ventura, you talk out of your butt.
Oh, yeah.
The Mask, somebody stop me. Like, from this one, what's the one line you come away with? And I think, what will I wear? Is that what it is?
That's
I
one
guess.
God,
that's
I don't
used
even
a
know.
lot
Yeah.
on the TikToks.
Yeah.
Before we go on to the other side of our critical corner, Andrew, I do want to ask you, as a director, about some of the directorial choices in this film. Cinematography-wise, for those of you that don't know, Andrew made this wonderful film called Sign that was written by Adam Wachter, correctly?
Yes. Yeah.
Very, very talented composer as well. Love the film. I've loved it for a while. So glad I get to meet you and tell you how much I love that movie.
Thank you so much.
Very, very well done. And I want to talk to you about some of the choices that he made and whether you would have made these choices as well if given the task.
Yeah, I think, honestly, some of my issues might be a little bit more with, like, the art direction. I think on a rewatch, it does look a little tacky. I thought. Like, I was impressed by the sets, but it is very that kind of, like, early 2000s maximalist, like, if you can put a bejewel on it, like, do it. I feel like it weirdly... The book is so beautiful, and the lines are so clean, and Dr. Seuss weirdly is about simplicity, even though the ideas are so huge. And it does not reflect the book's aesthetic in any way, I thought, other than the Who's having a slightly upturned nose. But it feels real extra in a way that hurts my eyes a little bit.
Would you have made it brighter? Is it a color or
No,
or,
I think it's like it's costume, set, lighting, all of the above. I think they could have taken the, like, Coco Chanel, like, take off one article of clothing. Instead, I think they were like, let's add everything. Aside from, I think the Grinch, those special effects are pretty astounding. And the fact that Jim Carrey is able to really break through all of that is, I think, really impressive. But, like, if you look at, like, Cindy Lou Who's wig, it's like, ew, I don't ugh, what is that? And I don't know what any of it is referencing other than, like, just too much. It's tacky.
What I think happened, and this is me putting on my tinfoil hat, at the same time, at the same production company, the first film, about 5 or 6 months before that, was released that used DIT, Digital Intermediate Technology, to color correct in technology. And that is Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, where they very brilliantly used it to keep the blues of their overalls very blue, but make all the leaves very orange. I think that they just handed that off, and they're like, well, what if we make the first half, like, really desaturated, and then at the end we'll bring out all the colors all of a sudden? And since it was so much of its infancy, it's very distracting and very primitive in that style. This has not been confirmed, but this is me being like, this would make sense.
I'll buy it.
Yeah.
This tracks for me from all the information. But you know what? No one cares what I think about this. You know who really cares? The opinion we really want. It's those of the truly sane and normal people over on Letterboxd.com. It's time for the Letterboxd game. 1 star or 5 star? All right, Andrew.
That's another great transition.
Oh,
you're
wow.
2 for 2 on this
solid
episode.
transition, Jess. I'll give you that.
Yeah, normally these transitions are really not this good.
Sometimes I make it funnier because they're not good, because I just want to get on to the next thing. How this works is Liz has pulled real life Letterboxd reviews, and Alan, Andrew, you guys are going to go head to head, and you have to guess just based on the review alone whether they are a 1 star or a 5 star.
Oh God.
And they're gonna get unhinged. So
Yeah.
All right,
This is where we get to the horny section of Letterboxd game. There's some horny people out there for this
I'm just
green
reading these
man.
now. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh
This
boy.
is the one Jess is looking at. There's some weirder ones I didn't include because they just made me uncomfortable. Like,
And that says a
oh,
lot.
All right, Alan, you're up first.
Okay. Here we go.
Liz, you want to be on Andrew's team? I didn't even ask whose team.
Oh, yeah, I'll be on Andrew's team.
All right,
yes.
Andrew, Liz will ask you the question.
Let's do this.
All right,
All right.
Alan. The dad was dummy thick.
Was dummy thick?
He did have like a butt implant.
Dummy. Oh God. I think that's a thick with a K.
Yes, with a K.
Or I'm going 5-star.
That is a 1-star.
No! Coming out weak. Swing and a miss.
Oh.
Damn it.
All right, Andrew, are you ready?
Let's do it.
Had a dream that he lived in the woods behind my house and set them on fire and tried to eat my dog.
I'm going to go with 1 star.
It's correct.
No! You're in the lead, Andrew.
Oh, boy.
All right, Alan, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Every time I do drugs, I have a really intense experience with some type of green man.
That Nike farts. I'm gonna go 5-star on that one.
That is correct.
Yes. Tied it up.
This movie saved my marriage.
I mean, if that's not a 5-star, I don't know what is.
That's correct.
It was a miserable marriage, you know?
Yeah. Man, we bonded over that Max butt thing.
my
That was
God.
great.
If this was about my ex-wife, it would be how the bitch stole my kids.
Oh, the bitch stole my kids. 1 star.
That is correct.
Yes.
That one was one I immediately caught, and I'm like, oh, that's unhinged.
Literally a horror film.
I'm going 1 star.
Correct.
Natural talent for this letterbox shit.
Yeah, it's.
What a great talent to have.
I'm gonna add that to my CV.
Someone want to help me with my taxes?
Special
Totally.
skills. 1-star, 5-star, baby.
All right, Alan.
Yes.
My son made me rewatch this today.
My son. Oh, that could be good because it was hanging out with your son, but I'm going 1 star.
That is correct.
Yes. I get so competitive over this game.
You do, Alan.
I know. It's really hard. It's really anyway.
How do you get competitive over this game? This game is like basically like, oh my god, who can hit their head against the wall the hardest?
It's literally
And
that.
I want to win that contest.
Okay. He's just a silly little guy.
Who is this a silly little guy?
Little guy.
This is a silly little guy. I'm going to give that a little 5 stars.
That's a 5-star for the silly little guy.
Silly little guy.
Alan,
Yes.
Grinch could get it, especially in that suit.
That suit's a 5-star suit, baby.
You bet your ass it is.
Oh yeah.
Like, the relationship between him and the humans, like, how is that supposed to work? How are you supposed to have a relationship with Martha May Whovier? Not to point this out, you don't wear clothes, my dude. I'm assuming that there's nothing anatomical going on down there.
I mean, if we want to go down that rabbit hole, it could be like the fish from Shape of Water who doesn't visibly have a penis, but like...
Is it a Red Rocket situation?
It might be.
Here comes the lipstick.
Red Rocket.
Here comes the lipstick.
They have a Who swinger party?
I'm going, honestly, 5 stars.
That is correct.
Guess who you're taking home?
I see what you did there. Wait, is that what I have to guess?
No.
That was just making a joke.
Yeah.
Oh,
Brutal. That is the review.
that's it.
Yep.
That's it.
I mean, I don't know if you'd throw it in there unless you're trying to trick me, but it seems so obvious. I've got to go with 1 star.
That is a 5-star.
See, I told you.
I didn't write these.
I didn't write these.
I
I'm
knew
just
that was
trying
a
to trick
5-star.
you.
I knew that was a 5-star, but I went against my gut.
That's the first, that's why Andrew's killing it. He's just kind of going with the initial reaction.
Yeah.
You've played this game too much, I can tell.
He's overthinking.
Yeah, you can't overthink Letterboxd reviews.
But when you get fed your review, like, this is just a cute little guy. Obviously, that's a 5-star.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
of how
everyone
it's
always
said.
criticizes the way that the other person delivers. Like, it's...
Are you saying I'm cheating, Alan, by
I'm saying you
delivering
might
them
be leading the witness
and
with
being
that
an
one,
actor?
With that 1 star, you were leading the witness. With
Or
that one
maybe
review.
I'm just
With the one
trying to
review.
cheat it so Andrew wins.
There you
What's
go,
next?
I really like the Village People.
Referring to the Who's or referring to the band?
I don't know. Maybe they just
This
like
has-
the Village People.
This has
They're
nothing
on
to
the
do
wrong
with the Grinch.
page. I'm gonna go 5 stars.
That is correct.
Oh, see. Okay.
All right,
you
Alan,
win.
this is the last one.
All right.
So
Can't
it's
come back. So
it's
this one's for fun.
literally an unfair advantage because you also started this. So really, it's your fault for losing at this point.
I have no one to blame but myself.
It won an Oscar. What else is there to say?
5-star.
That is a 1-star.
But shut it up, fuck! See, I went with my gut
but Alan,
wrong.
If I had said it the other way, it won an Oscar. What is there to say?
See, that would have been a 1-star.
So because I said he's a silly guy, like, he's a silly little guy, it was 5-star. But if I said he's a silly little guy, it's a 1-star?
Yep. Listen back to this episode when you edit it, and you.
Yes,
will
I'm
feel
the one editing this episode, Alan, and I will edit this conversation out.
No, keep it in. Keep it in and double it.
Let the record stand.
Actually, extend it, make it super long.
This entire episode is just this conversation now. It's not about the Grinch.
What do we think this has impacted as far as culture? Like, because this did have like a really big thing, and then it kind of fizzled out, and then nearly 20 years later, there's been another remake of The Grinch. Like, has this impacted the story and getting it out there to more people that wouldn't have initially brought it out, or has it kind of diminished its overall impact? Because Andrew, you stated that you think that this basically takes the original moral and kind of defeats it, which I don't entirely disagree with, but I feel like as a film there are things I like about it. Like, do we think this has been a net positive for getting Dr. Seuss's story out there, or a net negative for misinterpreting what its original intent was?
I mean, I would say it's a positive. Also, if you look, I just Googled this last night. I was like, what are the most successful Christmas movies? I'm like, just curious. Mm-hmm. And number 1 is The Grinch, but not this one. Literally the one from 2018 that I didn't even know really existed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wait,
That is
what?
the top grossing Christmas movie ever.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I would say it's had a huge, massive effect on Hollywood. The fact that this is that strong of an IP. And this Grinch is the number 4 highest grossing, with the 2
animated.
Home Alones in between.
Yeah, the animated one from 2018 with Benedict Cumberbatch.
Which I've
and
never
this is-
seen, and I don't know anyone who's seen that, but maybe that's just like a
It's not
Yeah.
wonderful.
I have 2 kids.
Yeah,
We've
Alan has
watched
kids.
it.
There you go.
They love it.
Which one would you recommend of the 2 of them? If you
The
were
animated
exposing someone to
one.
the Grinch.
The my children, my younger one especially, who still gets scared. We watched Into the Spider-Verse last night, and he got scared at that. So he still is. He's a little sensitive.
Blah, blah.
So,
He's a little guy.
He's just a little guy.
He's just a little guy. He's definitely my 5-star little guy.
Aw.
I do want to say, post inflation, because I was curious, like, after inflation, what would be the highest grossing? Number 1 is Home Alone. Number 2 is the 2018 Grinch. And number 3 is How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Wow.
Interesting.
So out of the
The
top
impact.
5, 2 of them are Grinch movies and 2 of them are Home Alone movies. Can you guess because the other Home Alone 2 is number 4. Can you guess what number 5 is?
Elf.
I am looking at it, so I will not say anything.
Man.
Andrew, you got a guess?
I mean, I did look at this last night, but I do not remember.
I'm going with Elf.
I bet it's like something stupid, like Polar Express or something. Just I'm underestimating the ability of.
Incredibly good guesses. Elf is 5. Polar Express is 6.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm glad to see Elf up there. I feel like that is the correct position for that.
So The Grinch was a big success in 2000. They immediately greenlight The Cat in the Hat with Brian Grazer still producing it. Ron Howard takes a step back, and Bo Welch takes over directing. Cat in the Hat is what the Cat in the Hat is. And then they released the same weekend as Elf, thinking, oh, this Will Ferrell comedy, whatever. Wow. And then Elf just ate its fucking lunch and destroyed it.
Nobody likes Mike Myers against Will Ferrell.
And they just didn't quite know how, and because this was his first post-SNL film, Let's Test You as a Movie Star, and Jon Favreau was the director of Elf and would go on to destroy the entire mega movie blockbuster for the rest of the year, or for all time. And yeah, so it's Elf's fault that movies don't exist anymore.
Oh no.
Andrew, will you write Star-Bellied Sneetches? I want to be a Sneetch.
Oh,
I want to be a cute little guy.
Dr. Seuss.
I just want to be a cute little Sneetch.
I mean, out of all the Whovilles you've been to, which one would you prefer to be in? Like, which Whoville that you've seen on screen would you like to live in?
I'm going with the original animated one from, when was that?
Chuck
like the
Jones
60s?
66, yeah.
I feel like that one is so pleasing and short.
Well,
for parents, you only have to put it on and you're like, dunzo.
Well, then your kid is like, let's watch it again!
Oh yeah, I guess this is coming from someone without a child. I have no idea how kids work. Oh wait, one thing that we did not talk that I actually have a huge gripe on.
Let's go.
The song "Where Are You Christmas"
the Faith Hill
is
song?
the worst Christmas song. That is the worst thing about this movie, is that it gave us that schlocky, and I like Faith Hill, but that song is terrible. I would say that's as bad as Christmas Shoes.
It's
as like
different kind of
up
bad.
there, yeah.
That's really saying something.
God.
Why can't I hear music play? My world is changing. I'm rearranging. Does that mean Christmas changes too?
Have you seen the music video for that?
For Where Are You Christmas?
Yes. It takes place in the world of the movie. She is on the Grinch's mountain. We start by going into the snowflake. Let's just go through this. She goes into the snowflake. The snowflake falls on Cindy Lou's face, and who saves it? It's Faith Hill!
It's Faith Hill!
She's like,
oh my God.
So this was Taylor Momsen's music career
Creepy
start.
legend.
Wow.
Look at how okay, not to be this guy harping on this, look at the dynamic range of these and how like right here in the music video world, it looks so colorful, and then we cut to the movie and it is so gray and drab.
She's in front of a green screen.
No, she's physically there. They kept the set. The sets are still up at Universal. You could go to these. But
wait, really?
Yes, it is the biggest set in film history when it was built, and they did not tear it down. If you ride the Universal backlot tour, you will see Whoville.
No kidding.
Now she could just do this over Zoom.
But not to harp on the fucking shit I was harping on, but look at the blacks are properly black, like the dog came out, and all that, and then you cut to the movie and suddenly it is so much more desaturated and low contrast.
Yeah, that's so weird.
She
looks great.
She looks incredible.
Yeah. The crimp I question, but everything else.
That being said, the last thing I want to talk about before we wrap this up is the dog actor.
The actor.
Wonderful dog actor named Kelly was a rescue dog from the pound just a month before they brought it in, and just nailed it, apparently, by all accounts. It is just was game to do anything better than most movie dogs. And most of the audio commentary is Ron Howard being like, oh yeah, the dog was wonderful, Kelly was great, and she just loved this, and she just enjoyed doing this, and it was like,
honey,
no one was ever hurt. Jim Carrey loved the dog, and the dog was just so game for everything. So I just wanted to shout out how incredible the dog actor was, and we should probably save more dogs from the pound, just in general,
and put them in movies. Yes,
yeah,
because they're the best thing.
Maybe, I don't know, I watched Homeward Bound recently, and I had to watch a pit bull try to fight a bear, and I'm like, did anyone stop? Who was running the set?
It's not great.
No.
But speaking of who was running this set, what is our overall thought on Dr. Seuss's?
That was not a good.
That was a 5 out of 10.
That was
5 out of 10
not so
transition.
good. Not so good.
What is our overall thoughts on Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas and our ratings of either an alrighty then or a no spank you? So yeah, Alan, why don't you go first?
You know what I'm going to say. This is an alrighty then for me. I'm going to give this an alrighty then. I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. Liz, how about you?
I was that weird kid growing up that I would only want to watch the Chuck Jones version, and then when that was over, I wanted to watch the stop-motion Rankin Bass shorts. That's all I wanted to watch for Christmas as a kid. And then ABC Family, now Freeform, when I was 2002, only showed the Jim Carrey Grinch movie, and it made me so angry as a child. I resented this movie by most of my life.
So you're unable to be unobjective.
But then I didn't watch it for a long time, and then I watched it today, this morning, and it was like, okay, it's not that bad. I'm way too hard on it. Is it good? No. I don't like it that much. I agree with Andrew about the theming. I don't think it works, and I don't think it works at all. Is a narrative. But I think Cindy Lou is great, and her and Jim Carrey have great chemistry. The Christmas song is evil, and if you pay attention, it's in the score every other scene. And it makes me angrier because it's always in the score. Ooh.
That being said, Liz, you have every right to be angry every time it's on Freeform, because when it's on Freeform, it is a half hour longer. They include deleted scenes not present on the DVD, and you can only catch it on Freeform, including a wrap-up to Molly Shannon's subplot with the lights, where the game is rigged and she does not win the lighting contest, and as well about 15 other deleted scenes, more Jim Carrey riffing. There is at least 30 minutes added to the Freeform version, and it's fascinating.
Wow.
That's why I hate it so much.
So
it felt way too long.
2 hours of commercial-filled TV into 3 hours where it just is on all the time.
That's horrendous. Dear Lord. Yeah, no wonder I hated it as a child. But yeah, I'm going to give this a very light no spank you, only because I just, didn't enjoy it that much. I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle between alrighty and then no spank you. I'm at a 50%. I can't lean on an edge. I'm very conflicted. I didn't hate it, but it was also kind of bad. So.
All right, Andrew.
I was going into this with a already then just based on Jim Carrey. This is a Jim Carrey podcast, and his performance is pretty spectacular in it.
Yeah.
But now knowing that he was cranky the whole time, I don't know. I'm gonna give this a no spank you.
That's fair.
I'm on my own. Jess, I know what you're gonna give it.
I'm giving this a pretty hardcore already.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Andrew and I are on a team right now.
I've got too much childhood nostalgia linked into this, and every time I can just spew out all the information I've got. So every time I watch this, I thoroughly enjoy watching it beginning to end. There's stupid parts that I look forward to making fun of. It is truly an insane film that they could not and would not make today, so I find that even more fascinating. And as a time capsule of early 2000s, hey, pre 9/11, the world's all right, we're doing great, we have money to just throw at things. I find it as a maximalist, interesting piece of media that could not and would not be made today, no matter how interesting a director you got on. And sadly enough, Ron Howard was not an interesting enough director to make anything of this. Tim Burton really wanted to do this movie and just couldn't work out the scheduling conflicts with Sleepy Hollow. And imagine what the Jim Carrey How the Grinch Stole Christmas would have been directed by Tim Burton.
That would have been a whole different universe.
That would have changed my life, probably.
It would have been a whole different vibe. We're talking good vibes, and if you want good vibes, why don't you go hang out with Andrew? Andrew, you've got a lot of incredible... I'm terrible at transitions today.
Good vibes. Here's a knife.
Good vibes. Here's a knife. Go see Dracula. Please promote all the incredible things you're doing, Andrew.
Oh, yes. Come see Dracula, Comedy of Terrors. You can also check out a podcast that I make with Alan called Dracula the Podcastula, which is the companion podcast to Dracula. And then find me on social media at Keenan-Bolger.
All right. Did you have a good time with us, or was this kind of an afternoon? Lame.
No, this was wonderful, and I like the homework assignment of getting to watch a Jim Carrey movie. How bad can that be?
Well,
who can be
You
cranky?
haven't watched anything he made in the 1980s.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
he
This
basically
officially.
made porn in the 80s.
We
Yeah, you
officially
are porn
launched
in
this
the
podcast tomorrow. The first episode comes out, and his
Oh, amazing.
first, I'll send you the link. His first couple films are softcore Canadian porn.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
lot of
imagine
boobs.
trying to do a podcast episode on that.
Well,
They're edited.
can't wait.
It wasn't easy. No one else isn't easy. Talk about Jim Carrey. Thank you guys for listening. Please follow us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher at Carrey'd Away Podcast with Jess and Alan. It's not Stitcher. Stitcher doesn't exist. We're on Twitter at Carrey'd Away Pod, Instagram Carrey'd Away Pod. Email us at carrey'dawaypodcast@gmail.com. Our title card is created by the amazing Grace Aki. Go follow them on Instagram at It's Grace Aki. This show is produced and edited by Elizabeth Eston. Thank you so much, Liz. You're doing a great job. Our theme song is I Choose You by the band Thanks. Thank you to the Broadway Podcast Network for having us on the platform and for not kicking us off for talking about the Grinch's red lipstick, if you know what I mean. All right. Do we have anything else we have left to say?
Your transitions need a little bit of practice.
Can we burn that Faith Hill song, please?
Whoa, whoa, Christmas is here
hate it.
everywhere. That's another part of it where it doesn't know what it wants to be. Is it a musical? We're just going to have this random musical number. 2 of them, I guess. That's enough, right?
Well, he sings the classic song, yeah,
sing Dahu
about
Dore.
himself.
3 songs, 2.5
yeah.
songs.
Yeah, that's right.
Two.
That's right.
That's not a
Yeah,
musical.
I like how at the end, though, that he doesn't know the words to that song. Why would he? That's a realistic choice, so he's just, like, flubbing it. Blah, 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 right?
You can see the frustration on Christine Baranski's face, like, very clearly there. I don't think she's acting. I think she's just, like, feeling the Tommy Lee Jones vibe of I cannot sanction your buffoonery.
Yeah.
Like, I have to be in love with this guy? Ugh.
Fuck.
Oh, God.
Where's
what is
his
our
dick?
future like?
At least I'm getting paid.
Where's his dick?
This is worse than Kelsey Grammer.
I need some lipstick.
All right, we're done. We're done. The Grinch is over.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.